So I'm here just to introduce you our stars for today. Pedro Dias Orsas
Yes.
is the CEO and founder of LinguaServe, a doctor in computational linguistics with over 35 years dedicated to academia, research and business in the world of the language technologies. We have also here Almudena Ballester. Yeah. Is a computational linguist specialized in machine translation and quality assurance, with a background in data, corpora, management, and curation. Her current role in the company is language resources and technology leads. LinguaServe is an international language service provider. Their aim is become collaborative partners with their clients, crafting multilingual and multicultural communication services and technology that aligns perfectly with their unique needs. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for coming after lunch and the last day, almost the last minute. Well, still another presentation and still another project or not. We have been talking all these days about artificial intelligence, right? We didn't stop of talking about it. We now are going to focus on the data, because who owns the data owns the possibility of training, customizing, and preparing better the system. So our presentation is, can we obtain enough quality data to train and personalize artificial intelligence? So the challenge is the importance of data. We can say, well, in terms of quality, is there enough data? It is available. Is clean, is aligned, if we think about machine translation. Do we have data for all the languages we need? What about domain? We have data about the different topics. These aspects are critical for unrepresented language, and it is necessary for specialized fine-tuning of artificial intelligence. Although it seems that the internet is a big repository of data, it can be very difficult to obtain certain data about a specific domain, and even more in certain languages. So that is the initial challenge. So next step we did was, okay, let's check the available corpora. We have free corpus. Sometimes the free corpus, they don't have much quality really. For certain languages, they are not enough. And they are normally very generic, or they mix different domains in the same corpora. We have paid corpus, so corpus that you have to pay, or we have to pay, maybe generated. Not always the return on investment is aligned, and normally it's not adapted to a specific need. And we have finally the synthetic parallel data. So we generate data with AI, or we do reverse machine translation. But that looks like a bit of, if you allow me, the artificial intelligence cannibalism. And many times the results are systems that are biased, that they have mistakes, limitations, and they can enter into a loop, very dangerous. So we decided to face this problem, and we started already 1.5 years ago a project called SmartBig, Smart Bilingual Corpora. This is a project funded by European Union and the government from Spain. We as LinguaServe, we are the leader of the project, and we collaborate with an university and another company of this area, actually, from Alicante. But when we talk about these technologies, normally it's not a good idea to reinvent the wheel, to start things over again. So the first thing we did was to look for, in the research, state of the art, which were the available systems that could help us to speed up this process. And we found it. We found it, and something that for Europeans make us very happy because it's reducing investment of public funds. And we found a project that was called Paracrowd. It was a project that was run for almost 6 years. And they produced a system called Bitextor. Bitextor is a system that initially is thought to clean data, to clean bilingual data. So we had the starting point. We have the team, the idea, and the goal, well, to obtain technology for getting data. Getting data, identifying, collecting, aligning, enriching, filtering bilingual data. The idea is also to train custom-specific systems. Many times, one of the problems is that these are too generic, terminology, expressions, domain. So the only way of approaching this is customizing those systems. For both, for neural machine translation, in that case, the main focus is bilingual data. But also, if you have bilingual data, you have two monolingual data, so we can split those, and we can train also large language models. But we needed some additional features in the existing technology, and we concentrated in two aspects, two innovations that we thought were very important. First, the crawler. The crawler that used the existing system was without any focus. So a lot of computing resources. So we have been working in a crawler in which you can tell him, okay, I need bilingual data in these two languages. And by a pre-trained system, you can extract keywords for filtering also per domain. In a more or less rough way, because it's interesting for the next item that we decided to develop, which is a selector, a post-production system that can refine even more the domain of a given data set. So I now give the word to Almudena, that she will try to explain us shortly how this works and which are the components.
Thank you, Pedro. So how it is all about, how does it work, this system? This system can work as in a pipeline, on a whole process, or can work separately. That is, that you can use the smart crawler for a task that you need, but you can also use the smart cleaner for another task that you need, and also the selector, okay? The very first input that we need is an URL or a keyword list, because it is the seed, it's our seed. From the seed, we are going to harvest this corpora that we need from the internet, but we also can select from a very, very big corpora that we previously downloaded for the internet, okay? And what does this, the whole process has 4 components, okay? The smart crawler, like Pedro said. It is an advanced crawler that integrates focus domain. What is this? I will explain it later. But can also, instead of downloading, for example, a bilingual website that you need all the content in every language possible, you can focus on language. You know, I need just English into German, for example, okay? The selector also works with the most relevant data that from a corpus or from a web, making possible to select a subset of your corpora for especially training purpose. And the cleaner filters, discards, and fixes some results. And finally, the dataset management is able to perform different tasks on the data, okay? The whole system is developed with an interesting technology in Java. It's highly scalable, and it's also had a very robust ecosystem. In this way, it's very automatically deployed, and you can extensively monitor them. This technicality, sorry, I'm not so. Okay. So First of all, our crawler, like he said, reuses and enhances bit texture. Well, the point here is that our crawler is domain agnostic, but language aware. What does it mean? We have been experimenting a lot of things with it. If you say that your crawler, please, I need a bilingual corpora in medicine. Okay, but is this not enough precise? What you need is really clinical trials, for example. So this domain agnostic is that the domain is deducted, is extracted from your input data. Your input data, an URL or two, or a list of several URLs that you previously know that are interesting for you. You can also put in the machine a reference material like a document. First of all, you say, this is my document, which is, I don't know, a domain is, like clinical trials. Then the crawler detects the main keywords, and from this seed, you continue to harvest all the similar URLs or similar documents that are available for download in the internet, okay? So this crawler is combined with a selector. Another use case is, let's say you have a very big corporate download from the internet. In our case, is this one multi-CC aligned with a lot of bytes in different domains, like we previously said. It's a generic corpus. But you need to train a machine translation system in, for example, automotive, okay? So using embeddings and some other technologies, we are able to detect and score sentence by sentence which probability has this sentence to belong to this domain. So with the selector, we regain a subset to train further more data. So this selector is able to create an in-domain corpora. Okay. Some samples. For example, this is German into Spanish. Our selector is also able to filter noisy data, which is internet is absolutely full of noisy data and faulty data. Okay, these two sentences at the beginning were removed for our selector because it was not textual adequacy. So we don't care about the numbers. Doesn't have to do with in a training machine system. We don't need the numbers, for example. Or we remove some sentences because they were not adapted to our domain, the first one. But the two last of them belong to the domain automotive. So they are good data. We take this data and put it in our subset, in our corpora of automotive. The cleaner, okay. It reuses by the cleaner, and it's very, very customizable. That is, you have some hard rules that filters these noisy units using some pattern rules, and filters also poor language sentences that are really not a translation one from another. It can also classify, indicating the probability of being mutual translation, because in the internet, you can find a lot of things that are not very good aligned, so they are not translators from each other, okay? And the vFixer is also able to correct some tokenization, segmentation, converting entities, removing tags, which is also very interesting for creating translation memories, clean translation memories, very easy to use in your translation memory system, ready for your translators to observe. Okay. Some samples that our cleaner filters and discards. From English into Spanish this time. The first one, okay, the translation score is very poor, saying that the Spanish is probably not a good translation of the English. Why? Because it lacks a number in this case. The temperature is not present. The second one, the length ratio is terrific. The sentence in English is so short, while the Spanish is so long. So probably not a good translation too. Also, it detects some duplicated and duplicated words inside a big text, but also words that maybe this is a nightmare when the words are just I'm so sorry. Están glued words, okay? Because in the internet it's also very, very possible that the words poses a lot of problems with tags and so, and then become like glue words together, all together. So the cleaner can filter all of this for you really to import in your translation memory. Okay. Our dataset management. The case is, imagine you have a very big translation memory and you want to train a large language model only with one of the languages, let's say Spanish into German or German into Spanish, whatever. You can analyze the whole translation memory and having two subsets of monolingual corpora, which is very interesting. Also, you have to train, for example, neural machine translation system, and you have a lot of TMX, very, very small. You want to remove noisy data, to clean up them, but you have to do it all at once. This is not convenient, so you can merge all of them into a big one, also for creating translation memories. You can split a very big translation memory. For example, from a customer of you is translating things that vary a lot of topics, medicine, and then marketing, and a lot of things, and you want to create separate translation memories per domain. You can do it with the split, okay? And finally, with this dataset management, you can remove all metadata regarding privacy for the name of translator, the name of the project, some data, this kind of things. Okay, we have several use cases for our SmartBig tool. The first one will be you want to compile a focus corpora, okay? So you can crawl the website with all these seeds and material reference to obtain your corpora, but you can also compile your corpora for a specific client. The crawler is also able to detect similar content in terms of brands, in terms of if you give him the name of a brand, you can extract similar, you can obtain similar URLs from this one, which is in order to extract some terminology and SEO is very interesting. Also, if you have a very big corpora, you want to clean them for a specific and it's very exhaustive specific cleaning, you can do it. You can extract some units with the highest by cleaner score. And finally, you can remove some TUs that are too short, too long, too noisy, posting only numbers, these kind of things. Okay? Next data set, this use case. Want to talk about this? Okay. Pedro? Oh.
Well, just we are almost finishing.
Sorry.
Well, of course, the final end is also our position of our company is to customize system, to customize translation system, to customize large language model systems. That really made more effective that a single human intervention, validator, editing, approval, is more effective. And our target is training neural machine translation engines, for example, for language pairs in which they are generic, not good enough engines, or, for example, for specific domains. It can be a domain or it can be a customer. When you start with a customer, normally, okay, if you have translation memories, we can train a system. Well, the customer say, we don't have, so what can we do? So we can generate it, create it. There are certain also domains, specific domains, that the available data is not very big. But also, we are thinking there are two ways of improving large language models. We learn these days via the prompt definition and prompt optimization, but also we can do fine-tuning of the system. To do this fine-tuning, we need data, fresh data, good data, so we can use also extracting monolingual content from the bilingual corpora. We can use this content that has been already filtered, cleaned, and with all these processes that Almudena explained very, very well. And we can custom for many things. For example, I need for customer care a chatbot in Kazakh. Well, it's going to be difficult to find good material for this. Or, for example, for my financial reports, my annual financial statement, not in general, because I have to present in certain organisms, but also in other organisms, and are different specializations. Or, for example, just marketing and tourism, so we can work at the domain level. As you can see, this is the main goals. So we go and step back instead, working on the algorithm, we work on the data, because the algorithms are there. The GPTs are there, the open source LLMs are there, but normally the problem is the data. How are now in the project? Right now, we expect to finish the project at the end of this year. And we are thinking to offer our services with this technology to help the community by beginning next year. This is our plans. But we already know future challenge. I mean, we know already improvements that probably we cannot afford within the time frame of the project. Like, for example, now we said that we cover 40 languages. This is not true, because in the crawler we cover 100 languages. But we are not able to select and filter in and later on the contents, the data set in more than 40 languages. So this is an improvement that we can do. We can also refine the earlier one off topic. Probably this is the most complex task that this system does, and we know that we can improve this topic or domain refinement, most of all because maybe we can work, now we work at the sentence level, the segment. So it's hard sometimes to decide whether a segment belongs to a domain or not. So probably we can work with a wider piece of text where it's simpler, it's easier, or you have more information to take decisions automatically about what is in the domain. And also, in case we need, because we are talking about a lot of computing resources that we already reduced because we don't download everything from the internet and we clean later, so we focus already the download. But other technical scalability and performance enhancement can be afforded. So we welcome you participation in shaping this tool. Of course, we have here an email from the team of Almudena that you can write for saying, okay, I have this use case, and maybe we can do a test with your use case. Or if you are interested in this system, we are pleased to inform you further and to give more details. That was all. Thank you very much.